So let me get started. It was 2 weeks ago that I did the video about 7 books that I recommend, and I had some people talk about it. So I was like, you know what? I love to recommend books. I'm gonna do it again on a Wednesday. Also, I wanted to give you all a heads up that on Friday I am, in fact, having. Oh, that's my mom. She's on here. My mom's joining us for the broadcast accidentally. Anyway, so like I was saying, I'm giving you recommendations for some more books. Mom, I can still hear you. It's the parents. I'm out here in Florida. Shout out to Florida for being sunny, okay? Because up in New York, it's in the 40s. What is that? Anyway, I'm on here for 2 reasons. One, to let y'all know I am having another video drop on Friday about the untold stories of the civil rights movement, and this week we're looking at the case of Dred Scott. You've all heard about it, so I'm gonna talk about it just briefly. And I want to come back on here and to recommend some more books because I did it 2 weeks ago and people enjoyed it, so I want to give some more book recommendations for people. I'm going to start with the books that I don't actually have a physical copy. Either it's in New York or it's on Kindle. And so the first book that I have that's in New York, it's from W.E.B. Dubois, and it's called Darkwater, Voices from Within the Veil. And it's a collection of essays, poems, and all this good stuff, because everyone knows the souls of black folks, but he actually has an essay in there called The Souls of White Folks, which is great. And it actually, hi, Miss John Brewster, how are you? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. Hope you're well, stay safe. But anyway, so this, I recommend that book from W.E.B. Du Bois, this Darkwater, Voices from Within the Veil. And it's a very short book, very thin, you can get through it. He has some great quotes in there. One of my favorite quotes from him is in that book, but I'll save that in case you guys want to talk about it later. And then the other one I have, given everything that's going on with this healthcare system and the pandemic, it's called Medical Apartheid. And I don't have the author's name, but that's also another excellent book to read about just sort of the racial disparities within the medical field, beyond just everyone knows about, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the Tuskegee Airmen experiment. Everyone knows that, but it talks about even before that, about the father of gynecology and how he really tested a lot of his stuff on black women, and it was just very horrifying. And then the third book recommendation, in keeping in step with the medicine and racial disparities, is actually from a friend of mine, Dr. Kirk Johnson. He wrote this book called Medical Stigmata, and I think that the subtitle is Race, Medicine, and the Pursuit of Theological Liberation. So he looks at race-based medicine and the ethics behind that, and what is the theological response to that. So you want to get that. I'm going to leave, now, again, I'll have a link. I'll list these all out and have a link to that book in particular from my homie, Kirk Johnson. I'm sorry, Dr. Kirk Johnson. And then I'm on book 4, right? Okay, book 4. Now I have the actual hard copy. Derrick Bell, Faces at the Bottom of the Well, a collection of essays. I love his writing. I feel like he gets me as a former civil rights attorney. This is someone wrestling with, are we actually doing more harm than good by doing these cases? Because it just sort of gives the oppressor a reason to say, oh, look, we have these laws and we're helping a few people, but you still overall maintain a system of racism. So, but this, he's doing it in a way of using fiction to sort of bring out these points. I love it. I love his writing. He has another book called We Are Not Saved, which is a quote from the book of Jeremiah. He's great. He was also a professor for President Barack Obama at Harvard. He was the first black man who was, or first black person, I believe, tenured at Harvard Law School. So it's a great book. I love his writings. It's like he knows me. What number am I? 5th. I have another slave narrative. It's Celia, a slave. It's a story about how this black woman who was a slave, who was also being sexually abused by her master, just one night kills him and burns him up in the fire all night long. And of course, you can imagine that it didn't end too well for her. But it's her story. It's about why she did it. It's about her lover, another slave named George, who sort of sells her out. I probably am giving away too much of the story. But anyway, it's worth reading. It's another slave narrative that's not mentioned in the book I mentioned before. It's not in the book I mentioned before of the 4 slave narratives. And then lastly, anyone who loves Dr. King, and I know that's a lot of you out there, If you like, what book about Dr. King should I get? What book should I read? How will I get to know? This book, it's called A Testament of Hope. It's a collection of his speeches, his writings, anything you need to know or want to know about Dr. King, and in his own words. This is the book. It's thick, but again, it's like all his writings and speeches, like the letter from a Birmingham jail is in here. I've been to the mountaintop. I have a dream. I believe it's in here. You really get to understand the mind of Dr. King when you read this. And so I highly recommend anyone who calls himself a student of the Civil Rights Movement, for sure, and a student of Dr. King should read this. It's very, very much a prophetic piece that is worth having in your collection. So those are my list of 6 books. I will include them in a link when I post this. And again, I will have another book, not another book, but another video coming out on Friday, The Untold Stories of the Civil Rights Movement, where I'll just go through the next case, which is Dred Scott. So stick around. I hope you all are staying safe. Do not listen to these people telling you to leave. Don't do it. It is not safe out there. I want y'all all to still be here with us in the land of the living, okay? All right, no, where's freedom if you're dead? And with that, I'm going to leave before I get too political. I love you all. Take care. Bye.